Thank you for joining us all this morning in this very interesting discussion. It's about trends in mobile app advertising, specifically with an APAC perspective. Before we kick off, it'd be great if we can sort of get a round of introduction from all the panelists. So Lars, over to you.
Yeah, sure, thanks. Yeah, sure, thanks. So I'm Lars Olsen. I run Icehouse. We're the only Google-certified developer agency in Southeast Asia. Our core offering is idea to app in 100 days. So we have everything from mobile strategy, design, business analysts, engineers, and QA. Work with a lot of startups in North America, startups and enterprises here in the region, doing a lot of digital transformation, bringing new products to market. So we are often on both the supply side and the demand side. So it's been a really interesting day today.
Hello, my name is Yanli. I'm from Berrybenka. It's a fashion e-commerce from Indonesia, and it's our 4th year. And so we have also the second domain for Hijabenka that serves the various brands of Muslim fashion in Indonesia.
Hello, hi. Selamat pagi. I'm Italo from Ascom. We are a local audience data exchange that empower programmatic advertising and also financial technology.
Hi, this is Shun. We are from Berlin, and then we have regional headquarters from the Seoul. So basically, we are a mobile marketing company which covers user acquisition, everything about user acquisitions, the CPI, so retargeting, programmatic, and all sorts of different things. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm Ruksh Chatterjee. I'm co-founder of RevX. RevX is a programmatic ads platform. We're focused principally as a retargeter and work with a lot of clients here in this region on app retargeting. Additionally, we also have a native ads platform which is beginning to gain a lot of traction with agencies in this market. So without further ado, let me sort of kick off the panel. We've been asked to talk about a very broad subject. It says trends in mobile app advertising with an APAC perspective. So wanted to sort of anchor it down to a few broad topics we want to talk about. And this group, we had a quick discussion earlier. And so we're anchoring it down to 5 things we want to talk about today. One, there's a clear move away from sort of bulk or slash junk installs over the last year. That's one. 2, we found that a lot of our clients are actually focusing on reactivating dormant users, which is a core and a very critical area for them to continue their growth. 3, we're talking about the rise of native in-app inventory and how that is sort of changing monetization across this region. And lastly, finding sort of innovative ways to engage your users, and Lars is going to talk about some of the offline component of how offline is being used to drive traffic for apps particularly. And lastly, very, very clear focus on ROI or return on ad spend for all of our clients. That's a clear trend that we've seen across this region. So kicking off with the first topic, which is the move away from sort of bulk and sort of junk installs. Maybe I'll sort of pick on Yanli. Like a lot of e-commerce players, Berrybenka sort of clearly must have seen a massive surge in installs in the early period. Would you like to sort of talk about how you sort of have changed your methodologies of driving installs for the app?
Yeah, I think the most popular app install campaign in the market is usually the incentivized campaign. Yeah, usually like download our apps and then get some coins like in some social chat or so. That makes the quality of the user is not that good in terms of LTV. That's why we usually use the social social advertisement to keep the quality of the users, and then usually we don't use CPI or purely on CPI and then the cheap installs to get the number of UA. We usually we get more tolerant on the higher CPI, but more into the higher conversion rate in terms of sales, and then the other KPI like registration. So in the future, in the long term, we can get more LTV from the quality users.
Got it. Jun, has the going got tougher for players like you, therefore, because the hurdles that you have to cross to sort of get sort of that CPI payout has become harder?
Yes. So basically, I mean, we have a rewarded ads platform, but like as a sort of a ad network business that we are running, we've been facing a lot also from a lot of challenges from our supply side. Basically, especially like the incentivized platform, whether we check whether it's a machine, because sometimes it's like a machine or the computers if we're actually generating the installs, and then basically once you look at the LTV of such installs, then which usually is really bad. And in terms of just sustained campaigns, basically non-incentivized sort of a traffic, there's a sort of a new ways of fraud, which will be elaborated in different panel, I heard. And then, but in general, like we are making a lot of efforts by looking at when is like an install time, when is the open time. So it's been, again, like a big issue, especially this year, also from our advertisers and also from our supply side, to prevent such like a fraud installs in order to generate the quality installs. Yes.
Got it. Lars, you operate across the entire spectrum, helping clients build out their app, etc. What do you recommend to your clients to sort of drive installs to the app? What sort of strategies have your clients also started seeing traction on?
So I think we start really early, right? About really picking out the right segment and understanding the customer journey and identifying the persona that you're actually trying to sell into. So a lot of success, I think, is the part that people are ignoring, right? That happens even before some of you guys even get called out when you're doing product strategy and product design. Then of course the next step is making sure that the funnel, once they land in your app, is actually going to get the result that you're looking for. And I think that's often overlooked by people in this part of the ecosystem, right? We think, ad is really about getting that install or maybe driving the event inside the app, but it's almost like a black box. And I think that's something where this part of the ecosystem could step up its game a little bit and help contribute data, help contribute ideas, and help contribute sort of best practices back. Because if your customers are successful, if our customers are successful, they're going to increase their ad spend. But no matter how effective you are at getting those installs, if in the end the customer is dissatisfied or unable to execute whatever that core use case, that core conversion is, that revenue is going to dry up very quickly.
But in terms of any strategies, have you seen any of acquisition strategies that have been particularly successful with some of your clients?
So I'm going to be the radical one at the table. I think that GoPay has the best acquisition strategy on the planet, right? So if you look at the idea of Gojek or GoBike as the acquisition strategy for GoPay, that was a really clever guerrilla flanking move. And so they're able to bypass the customer acquisition cost in a lot of ways. So they're buying customers in a much lower price market and then converting them into a much higher price market. If they were to go out and try to buy, installs for a mobile payment solution, right, that CAC is going to be a lot higher. And I think we're seeing really the really big winners are the ones that are thinking a lot about those kinds of strategies, right? Rather than just like, what are the keywords that are slightly less expensive where I can save, a marginal couple of pennies per. But really looking at this in a much more strategic way. Can I work either with a partner that's already here, right? And can I come in on a flanking position?
That's a great insight. So finding ways to look at your business orthogonally almost. Italo, on the trading desk side, since you sort of are on the client-facing side on that side, what about user acquisition? Have you seen sort of the traditional affiliate model sort of shrink and other models kick in terms of user acquisition?
Yeah, I think I agree with Yanli that the focus should be not the CPI. There is still many of advertisers come to me, look, I want to have a CPI of less than 50 cents. So at the end, CPI means nothing. At the end, is the business impact is something that you should like monitor, because install is not a business impact. I think for Berry Banka, they are not looking for the number of install, but they are looking the revenue generated, that actually people like really paying for this product. So with in our case, we use a lot of data to really engage up to the. Usually how we track, the simple is actually after the install, after certain days, is it the user still active using it? So I think what Yang said, the LTV, the customer lifetime value is something is more important, because you cannot measure the ROI based on only on the install, because install means nothing, but based on the usage of the app itself. So we need to track, usually we track all the way until the transaction, and then we can really focus on the ROI. And I think, yeah, last year there's a lot of offering coming from mobile ad network, incentive-based mobile ad network, which is, I think logically, that's actually bribing the customer, and consumers are very smart. They love to get something, but they will not loyal to install. And I think the second thing that really need to be being reviewed as well, building an app is actually is really hard, because especially in the Indonesian market, some of the user has this very limited memory. Right. So, and then they only have certain numbers of app that can be installed. So after Gojek, after Facebook, after WhatsApp, after Instagram, after, for the case of, for example, e-commerce, are you guys like, what kind of, they put you? So, and then there's Gojek is actually perfect, because we use it every day. Even we use it many times in a day. But in the case for Berry Banka, how many people are actually using it on the weekly basis? Are they opening on like a daily basis? Are they like buying, shopping on a daily basis? Poor husband. Okay, that's my thought.
But just staying with you, it's a great segue to the next point that we wanted to discuss, which is sort of reactivating dormant users. Since you've got a bunch of 50-cent installs already, sort of spent your money doing those 50-cent installs, what have you seen sort of, Italo, in terms of sort of getting back, or efforts to get back some of those dormant customers?
Yeah, I think that's actually should be the first focus, to have a proper nurturing solution platform or retargeting platform before you start everything. Because no point for you to start pushing client to your app. In Indonesia, I call it ember bocor. So you put the water in the basket, but actually it's dripping all around because you don't have a proper engagement platform. So I think that's actually very important, because when people go already using your app, that should be the #1 customer, because they're already interested in something.
Sure.
So that's actually very important thing to set up.
So June, have you sort of seen a lot of these dormant user reactivation campaigns kick off at your end?
Yes, so we've been running quite a few retargeting campaigns, especially once they we work with one of the biggest e-commerce in Korea. And then what I observe is, because, like about a year ago, this programmatic and all these, dynamic as sort of a trend was kicking in. And then I was explaining a lot to our customers, you know what, mobile world is changing. You also need to move ahead with this trend. But then no one was understanding it. So this time, I was approaching them, you know what? It's re-engaging your dormant users based on the exact data that we are receiving it. And we are actually running that, and then we actually show the performance of ROI. And then a lot of customers actually liked it. So in other way, I mean, a lot of changes that we're looking at in mobile world, I think the retargeting is sort of a way that is visualized sort of how things will change in terms of, how advertiser can utilize their data, but in terms of supply side as well, how to sort of aggregate such, quality data to deliver the results, in terms of, different segments or in terms of different targets. Yes.
Right, and Yanli, any efforts that you are doing at Berry Banka to sort of bring back dormant customers or inactive customers?
Yeah, I think first for Indonesian market itself, because it's more into the mid to low market, and then when their phone memory is getting more full, they should delete some of their apps. And one of their option for sure is the app that they rarely use, which is shopping. That's why other than collecting as many install as we can, we should think more on the how we engage them to our apps, like in a weekly or a monthly basis. That's why we also use retargeting to re-engage those people who uninstall our app, and then combine it with our CRM effort. So when they reinstall, they don't uninstall it again.
Right. Talking about sort of reactivating dormant customers and innovative ways to sort of re-engage your customers, Lars, you sort of had mentioned some of the offline and to online methodologies and vice versa. Would you like to touch upon that point?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So I think in general, what we're starting to see at the bleeding edge, right, is that folks are recognizing that the phone isn't just about being everywhere, right, or anywhere. It's really about being everywhere, right, and it's all the time.
Right.
So customer experiences that are augmenting a real-world interaction through that digital device, as either it's sensor systems or it's proximity detection or location detection, that's sort of the next generation, I think, of native advertising. That's the next generation of engagement, and certainly for re-engagement. So, there are places and times that your app is more relevant to that user.
Right. So it's far more contextual.
So if they dropped out, right? If they dropped out of your funnel, don't just think about sort of the digital territory that you control or that you've lost control of. Right? Think about how that app integrates into that person's life routines and identify the spark event, right? That moment where your brand is relevant to them again. And that's the time to try to re-engage them, right? With a push notification or perhaps with offline advertising. Or some sort of partnership into retail channels or whatever that sort of real world thing is that makes your brand relevant again at that moment.
Right. Yanli, are you using some of these methodologies, especially on the offline side, or trying to find sort of relevant points to sort of re-engage customers, perhaps through notifications or retargeting?
Yeah. We do some offline approach to our customers, as we are having some pop-up stores across Indonesia, but more into the outside Java, since we are quite well known in Java area. And yeah, we combine all those approaches to convert those offline users to online, to become our online customers as well. That's why we use some kind of a touch point. We call it touch point. So
what kind of touch points are these?
Yeah, other than advertisement, we also use some live chat to make our customers we can get close to our customers through to our personalized communication to our customers, and then we use the CRM tool, like newsletter, social channels, and then the personalization segmentation to our through some channels like retargeting, and then internal segmentation, something like that.
Right. Sort of moving on to the next point of the rise of sort of native ads and especially in-app advertising. Sort of let me sort of circle back to Italo. On the SSP side, you've been aggregating a lot of inventory. Have you seen sort of dramatic traction of sort of in-app advertising or native advertising per se?
I think native advertising has been, people a lot of talk about it.
Yeah.
But I don't see any scale implementation in terms of native app.
Do you think it's an education issue that people haven't sort of got sort of enough exposure to the benefits of native advertising? Is that one of the challenges you see?
Yeah, education is the #1 issue of the industry. That's it, for sure. The education is one issue, but at the same time, I think native only. I'm a data person. I believe in data, so I think standalone native is not something that can able to be scale. So I think combination between data and native is something that actually interesting because data will make the content are in on the exact time, the exact intent of the person, and native actually make the visual is actually more comfortable for the consumer itself. But and then somehow now the brand in Indonesia, they want to be as not native as possible. They want to be intrusive actually. Look, I want to make sure that the people are really seeing the ad. That's actually the state of the brand at this moment. So native becoming more intrusive than ever. So I don't see any, maybe somebody can share to me what is any big scale native campaign being done in Indonesia, but I think now is not yet. Maybe in other countries, Jun, you can share more for me, please.
So June, I mean, Applift owns PubNative, which has seen some traction in these markets. Do you want to talk about sort of the uplift that you've been able to drive for clients leveraging native advertising?
Yes. So actually, Indonesia, we also feeling that we're running some retargeting campaigns, and the challenge is the scalability of these native ads. But for these other markets, such as in South Korea, actually native ads is performing much better than other inventories. It's our business secret, but it's really delivering the value out there through the exchanges and SSPs. Yeah, and also for our subsidiary, sort of a sister company, which is a PubNative, which is giving, which is SSP, but at the same time providing native ads mediation platform. Yeah, I mean, also, especially from a lot of Chinese publishers, they've already changed their inventory into native ads because one of the reasons that they are moving on to the native is simply just better monetizing. So I already see in other markets, whether it's a demand side or it's a supply side, like both sides are requiring the native ads as sort of a way to win the users value as well as supply side monetization value. So it's working well. So I mean, maybe Indonesia, maybe it's an education issue or something, but I think mobile market itself is towards that direction.
Sure. We're almost out of time, so I guess we've got time enough for last comments and maybe focus on the last point that we all wanted to talk about, which is the focus on return on ad spend that every marketer is sort of really sort of thinking about this year. So let me sort of begin with Yanli. What's your sort of focus and how do you think you'll be sort of spending your marketing budgets, considering that you're raising another big round as we speak through this year?
Yeah, I think other than desktop advertisement, mobile app is currently in Indonesia is a bit cheaper compared to the desktop because the competition is a bit lesser. And for sure, for a business like Berbenka, ROI is one of the main focus because we cannot compete on the GMV battle or price point battle. So that's why we really focus on ROI, and that makes the app activity is one of our main focus because the retention, the repurchase rate is a bit much better compared to the desktop, and that's why for this year ahead we really think app is the game changer for us.
Great. Lars, as in your role as advisor to your clients, what would you suggest is sort of the one thing to focus on to drive return on ad spend or ROI for your clients this year?
Yeah, so I think it's essential to know what your main KPI is, right? So a lot of apps, there's a number of things they're trying to do. A lot of people are trying to emulate multi-function type maps like WeChat or like Gojek, right? And that's great when you have a massive budget and you have a huge team with a lot of human capital to manage all of those different funnels.
Right.
For the vast majority of businesses, not just startups, but even just small caps and mid caps, it should do one thing, right? You should have one KPI that you're really focusing on. And great, in a year or two, when you're making your nut and everybody's happy, sure, right? Start to extend your line. But any brand that is extending its line too early is really risking too much.
Right.
So, yeah.
Focus on the core.
Focus on the core. Basic business, right? Warren
Right.
Buffett.
So June, in terms of advice to your clients, how would you sort of deliver ROI for them or return on ad spend?
Just simply for e-commerce and most of the people who doesn't have so much budget but have a lot of user data, retargeting. And just
That's
for
my pitch.
yes. And also for those who need just new user acquisition, it's UA, but based on the exact like user data. And we are also moving into that direction, like more on CPA approach. Yeah.
Italo, last words?
Please reconsider to develop an app if your app is not daily being used.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an informing conversation for me. Hopefully, you got something out of it as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciation, Raja from Jimasa will be presenting a little token of appreciation for your safekeeping. So while I'm setting up my selfie stick, for the selfie competition, I'd like to re-announce our selfie contest with a mystery winning prize at the end of the summit. Please take out your cell phones, take photos. Raja will be, silakan, Asher, mohon cepat sedikit. Raja will be presenting the gifts to our panel discussion. Thank you so much, Lars Olsen. Thank you so much for making a time. I know it's a lot of struggle for you, but thanks for making it. Thank you to June and also Italo Yanli. Thank you, Jun Lim. And thanks to our moderator, Ruksh Chatterjee, for the lively panel discussion. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And then we'll take a selfie photo. I don't know how we can manage with so many people. Okay, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's so difficult. Let's try again. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you so much, guys.